This is it. We've come down to the final week for most of us. Still got some contests going on through next week. That's the real big boy stuff. But if you have made it to your fantasy football league's championship round, congratulations. Listen, guys, it's going to be tough every year, and only two of us can make the championships. Only one of us can win it. So that means there's going to be a lot of losing all the time. And the summation of how you play fantasy football season-wise is how you deal with it when you don't win, as much as how you deal with it when you do win. DFS, we're still playing. If you're not in it for a championship and seasonal, DFS is where you need to be living right now. You can make some money. You can get better. You can take these free picks and do what you need to do with all that stuff. Full transparency. We won last week. Did not post the actual screenshot, which I like to do, but cash game lineup was great, over 150 points. And then we got, some stuff here and there with the tournaments, but want to try to nail those this week too. And then also for full transparency, I am chasing down 3 championships of my own, doing about 7 leagues. So it's not like, a clean sweep. The reason why I'm doing 7 leagues is so that if I get asked advice, I can tell you guys from ground level for every type of league, this is the way to win it. So when I say 7 leagues, one of them's standard, one of them's PPR. There are 2 of them that are on the the FFPC league, the Fantasy Football Pro Championship League website. So there's 2 of those there. There is a auction lineup as well. There's a double flex auction. So guys, I'm doing all this so that if you come and hit me with these questions, it's like, tell me what type of league, tell me what the format and standard is, and I will give you some pretty valuable information. So we are up against it this week. We got to nail this so that we can come out ahead. All right, on to this week. Christmas Day, Wednesday, Chiefs at Steelers. Kansas City had business to take care of, y'all. And that's what they did. With the win, they could sew up the 1 seed, so they took care of that. There was never an opportunity for the Steelers to be in this ball game. They had an outside chance that the Steelers are taking the division from the Ravens, but that's not looking possible now, especially as we segue into the later game from Christmas, the Ravens at the Texans. The Ravens took care of business, obviously motivated by seeing the Steelers loss and realizing that they could get a leg up in the division. The Texans already have their division secured. Not a lot to play for there. Very locked into the number 4 seed. We see how much trouble this team has if they cannot establish the pass. So no Tank Dell, only Nico Collins means that the passing game is a little bit more pressurized now. They got to get the ball to some new guys. Got to get some guys to step up and get involved, like the tight end. And that didn't happen. Mixon also couldn't get it going because they were playing from behind all day. And you've got to figure it out before the playoffs. The Ravens, Thursday night game. Seahawks at Bears. Listen, Bears are pitiful. There's no way around it. This is not a good football team. They don't have strong leadership on the coaching side because they fired everybody already. Certainly not strong leadership as the top. I'm saying this as a Bears fan, so don't at me. The Bears have worked hard to keep themselves alive, though, is what I would say. I hope you don't have to start too many Bears for the fantasy playoffs this week. So as far as the Seattle Seahawks goes, their playoff hopes are, they work to keep themselves alive this week. Their playoff hopes are down, but they're still there at the moment. They need to see how Sunday plays out to kind of know if they're still alive in terms of the Rams winning the division or not. They can't actually get a wild card, so it's coming down to mano a mano with them in LA. On to the Saturday slate. Nice little slate, 3-game slate we have here. So I'm going to give you picks for this Saturday slate and Sunday slate. Patriots at Chargers. Chargers got a lot to play for. With the win, they can punch their ticket into the playoffs, so we know that they're going to be motivated to do that. The Patriots, not so much. Drake May has been playing fine down the stretch of the season, but I don't like any Patriot players on Saturday. The Chargers, however, do look nice. You've got Gus Edwards, who's on the shelf, so we don't have him, but we do get J.K. Dobbins back. He's coming back, which is great. And Kamani Vidal will also get some of the ball there, but it's Lad McConkey that I have interest in also. Interest in the passing game. I think Justin Herbert is a fine play at quarterback. Herbert and Nix are my two quarterbacks for the day on Saturday. I'm looking for the Chargers to win. The opponent is not tough, even though they're in New England. There may be weather, right? But with just so much on the line, I find it hard to believe that Harbaugh would not have his guys ready for this one. Next up, Broncos at Bengals. Bengals actually have something to play for here. Their playoff hopes are very slim, but they are not dead. They are not dead. Cincinnati, you are not dead. The Bengals can keep themselves alive with the victory here at home against these Broncos. The Broncos, for their part, could lock up a playoff seed with a victory here and a Colts loss and a Miami loss. The Bengals defense is bad. We've established that. Excuse me, but this team does have a great offense, and they are at home. I can see them winning the football game led by Joe Burrow. In fact, Chase Brown is in a great spot also. I'm recommending him at $7,600 for the Broncos side. I said cash game QB for Knicks on Saturday because the Bengals have been terrible on defense, as I just said. They really can't stop a nosebleed. They can't stop anybody for any reason. So you got to like the Broncos. And as far as wide receivers go, you know they kind of spread it around in Denver. I don't really want to focus on a primary receiver or running back for Denver. The three running backs will also be involved, and all three receivers also. Vela is a bit interesting, but ultimately I won't play him. It's just too much of a guess. I think for tournaments, if you want to get there and get deep for that Millie Maker type feel, that is the guy. But I just think for the Bengals, this is a very winnable game. Troutman at tight end for Denver is interesting, and I will pay down for him at $2,800. Helps you fit a lot of stuff in, too. The Bengals have an opportunity, and he's coming off a touchdown, I believe it was last week. The Bengals have an opportunity to win this one at home. And in the passing game, I think Gesicki leads the way. That's the least path of resistance against this Broncos defense. You're never going to blank Jamar Chase, so if you want to play him, that's great. I don't think I want to pay up for him on Saturday, but he does get some work in, I'm sure of that. So if you got any of these guys, Burrow, Chase Higgins, and seasonal, you should feel great to play them, even though we're not going to play them on DraftKings on Saturday. But as close as the Broncos defense will try to make this one, I think the Bengals will find a way to win this game and keep their playoff hopes alive for at least one more week. Cardinals at the Rams. The Cardinals have a chance to play spoiler here. They can't make the playoffs, but they can do damage to the Los Angeles Rams' opportunity to get into the playoffs with the win. Rams are at home, and they have a better team than the Cardinals. They also played more consistent down the stretch here as of late. Stafford is in a decent spot, and so is Puka Nacua. I will play Puka at $8K on DK. I'll pay up for him on this Saturday slate and pair him with McConkey as well as Quentin Johnson, another guy I forgot to mention from the Chargers. The opponent is just so soft in terms of the Patriots that, I think they can find these guys and really spread it out there. And if JK has some trouble getting it going after just coming back this week because they don't have Gus, well, then they'll just have to lean on the run or the pass game, I think, a little bit more. So even more reason to like them. So sorry, guys. That's like twice I coughed directly into the mic. But as far as the Rams go, we do like Kyron Williams. I won't play him, but we do like him. The Rams have an opportunity via the air. But the run game is going to be lethal too, so play action is definitely on the table here. Bringing it back for the Chargers, you got to like Connor just because of bringing it back for the Cardinals, you got to like Connor just because of his involvement. You know what I mean? Also, Kyler Murray for the same reason. I won't play those guys on Saturday for DFS, but if you got them for seasonal, you should play them and feel good about it is what I mean to say. I don't have any interest in the Cardinals wide receivers. McBride at tight end for sure. That's interesting, but I don't think I want to pay for that on Saturday. The Rams can control their own fate with the win. I like them at 6.5-point favorites to win, and let's move on to Sunday. Dolphins at the Browns. Dolphins still have something to play for here. I'm not sure how effective they're going to be as far as this Browns offense goes, though. Dolphins got something to play. Browns, I don't know. As far as the Browns go, Jerome Ford, if you're desperate for seasonal, if you're going for that championship and you need that extra push, you had Kamara, he got hurt, whatever the case, find the play for. You had him on the bench. This is going to be a plug and play guy that gets you to Valhalla, to glory. Njoku is out also, so I'm really not looking at anybody else here. With Njoku out, them playing DTR at quarterback, it's like run the football, if anything. Dolphins defense on the other side looks pretty good because of these, I guess you could say, developments or lack thereof for the offense of Cleveland. Play Tyreek Hill. He's only $6,900, and I would try to get some exposure to him as well. I've got him locked up too on Sunday. I would prefer that over the run game for the Dolphins. I'm not as high on this week as I am on Achane, but as far as he goes, I don't think I'm going to play him for DFS, but in seasonal, obviously, if you're going for that chip, he's a piece that you will need to play, especially if you've been riding him all year. So, E-Rock, I'm saying play him. But the tight end, Jonnu Smith, is the guy that I like from Miami. They go to Cleveland, and it could be inclement weather. So, if that's the case, you would like this place even more, or this play even more. Miami has gone to Jonnu Smith so many times in that check down spot. So, on the road now, coming down to this stretch of the season here, and, this is where Cleveland's defense is softest. So, for a lot of reasons, you got to love Jonnu Smith at 5,700. That's a cash game play. Browns being led by DTR, I can't recommend them. Miami's a 6.5-point favorite. I think they go on the road, and the toughest part about it might be the weather. So we'll have to look at that, but they'll win. They'll win. Okay, Jets at Bills. Jets got nothing to play for, and the Bills can lock up that second seed, basically. So we've got a little bit to play for here for them. Josh Allen is a decent play, but only if the game is competitive. It's like if it becomes not competitive, they will pull him, as we've seen against the 49ers a few weeks back. Jets defense has been playing really well, though. So Allen, Shakir, Cook should be okay for seasonal. I don't want to play those guys for DFS, but I believe they have enough to win the football game. Same thing for the Bills defense. I don't want to play them, but I believe there's enough there to win the football game. So in seasonal, if you're in a bind, you got to do it. Go ahead and do it. The Jets do bring a lot of offense, though, and the Bills' defense hasn't been great. I think trying them with the Jets makes a lot of sense, which is why I don't want to play the Bills' defense here. Garrett Wilson for seasonal, but I'd rather play, maybe Devontae Adams for DFS. But I'm going to avoid both of those guys personally. I'm going to get more involved in the Jet run game. Breece Hall at $6,300 is a good play. I'll play him for DFS. The Jets can have a balanced approach is what I like about them, especially in this game, because the Bills do have the ability to be pretty generous against the pass and against the run. Teams don't get to run, though, because the Bills put up points on you. But the Jets are going to be a little bit better on defense than I think you may be expecting. So it becomes the opportunity for a balanced football game. And in that sense, I know it sounds weird to say, but right now, I like the Jets more in a balanced football game. I'm expecting them to want to play some type of a spoiler also. You can't stop the Bills from getting into the playoffs or anything like that, like we said, but they can keep them from the second seed here with this victory. Jets aren't going to win, but I think they just show up to play some football, man. Rodgers motivated to show management. He can still play football, but the Bills will win this football game. Titans at Jaguars. Hate to say it, but I got to love Mason Rudolph in this one. I think on the road he's going to be pivotal. He's going to be pivotal, to at least one of my championships. I was playing Cousins. I don't have Penix. 2 QB league. Goff's the first QB. Enter this guy. Mason Rudolph is my second QB. We won last week, so just one more. I need just one more. I think on the road, this is a good spot for him, but we like this play on Sunday. The Jaguars are terrible. The Jags are terrible. We like the run game too, but here's the thing about that. Run game against the Jaguars, I should say. But the thing about that is I don't want to necessarily go crazy playing Tony Pollard because last week, there's just a lot keeping him. We saw last week, there's a lot keeping him off the field. Like he's been hurt. He's got the ankle thing going on. Tajay Spears has been playing better. Also, Tajay getting cleanup work because they've not been competitive, so they're just playing from behind. So there's just a lot circulating in the same cauldron to keep him really on the field. So I want to kind of disassociate from that a little bit this week. because I don't know if there's enough there to keep him from bursting through numbers wise. So I don't recommend to play him like we did last week. And last week was good. Like we had good cash game plays, good tournament plays. We ate that play. Those were wins we had on those two types of games. But I don't think we can get away with that this week. I expect some type of split with the running backs, unless, like we said last week, like unless they tell us that Pollard is not going to play and you can play Spears. So like I said that last week, I play Spears anyway. I should have listened to myself and not, like I didn't play Tajay because Spears played. I'm just saying I don't want to have to go through any of that this week. The only way I would get involved here is if I find out that Pollard is not playing. Other than that, I don't want to mess with it. But I think it's a soft price for Tajay Spears if we find out Pollard ain't going. And the Saints offense all around pretty decent against this very bad defense. So Ridley too at $5,500 for me. That's a cash game play. On the other side for the Jaguars to bring it back, there's not a bunch that I like here. I mean, Brian Thomas is in a decent spot, more of a seasonal play, but the Titans play a little bit better defense than you would expect. So I'll fade them for DFS. I'm not sure what else there is for Jacksonville. I don't want to get too involved in their run game versus Tennessee, but there will be some room on the ground. I would hate to have to be in a bind where I got to play Etienne or Bigsby if you want. Bigsby's probably the guy of the two, but I'm just not expecting much here. There should be some room on the ground, like I said, but not a lot. The Jags are not a great team, which is why even though they're at home and both teams are 3-12, as a record, Tennessee is still a minus 1.5 point favorite, even though they're at home. I'm going to take them here too as well. Or I'm sorry, Tennessee, even though they're on the road, they're a 1.5 point favorite. So I'm going to take them here too over Jacksonville is what I mean to say. Panthers at Buccaneers. So the Panthers don't have anything to play for, but the Bucs do have a bunch to play for. They need to wrestle away the division from the Falcons, and they have the easier matchup over the Falcons this week. The Panthers are not a great offense or defense for that matter. So as far as defense goes, I expect that Baker should have time to find Mike Evans, and I think he's going to do just that. Evans is a cash game play lock for me this week at $7,500. No way he doesn't produce with that team's playoff hopes on the line. The run game is also in a great spot, though. Bucky Irving is definitely in play. I would play him over White. I think it's also a very fine price for Bucky Irving at $6,700. That's about it for the Bucs, though. For the Panthers, I like Bryce Young. In addition to playing Rudolph, I'm going to stick down there and play at $5,600. I'm going to play this guy. So these are cheap quarterbacks this week that we're going to play. And I think you can pair Young specifically with Thielen. Thielen's also a cash game play this week at $5,700 at wide receiver. Should be plenty of room against this weak Tampa Bay secondary. Hubbard's in play to a lesser extent and maybe more of a seasonal play. I like the Panthers to try to have to keep up in this football game. With Tampa trying to close in on that division, I think they lean into what they do best, which is put up points and be aggressive on offense, especially against a weaker defense. I like them to win this game, but I think Bryce Young and the Panthers stick around for a very long time and in a competitive way. All right, well, next one up, Raiders at Saints. I'm not expecting a bunch here, guys. Total on this one is real low. I think the Raiders have been using all their running backs, so it's kind of like going to pick one. If I had to, Amir Abdullah, and I think I recommended him last week, and that worked out well. We'll go back to it, although he got that production almost at the very, very end of that game. It was a close thing, but we'll pay down to $5,100 to make some tournaments work. Hopefully he has garnered some more good faith in himself through his play last week, so I'm hoping he can kind of take over more of those touches this week. I also like the Saints to do the same thing as the Raiders this week on offense, which is kind of just like be out there. I think they'll just be running routes, getting subpar yards per carry on the ground. Both these teams just going to be out there. There's just not a ton to play for, y'all. Kamara, he tried to suit up. He's not going to play. So Kendra Miller, if you want that play, he's there. There's not to like between these two teams, though, as I keep emphasizing. Raiders defense, we do want to play them at $2,600. We saw how bad the Saints were against the Packers. I'm not saying the Raiders defense is the Packers defense. This is a nice spot for them to crush an easy offense. So the Raiders, I can't get away from that play. That's the play. The Saints, defense is not the same play as the Raiders defense. O'Donnell has put together some games. He could easily find Bowers. They got some running backs. They got their guys at receivers like Myers. He's out there. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I want to play the Raiders, and I don't really want to play the Saints or get too much invested because, of the two teams, I think, Vegas could pop off more readily, I should say. But I don't want to get too much invested in the Raiders either, even though it's a game I think they'll win. Cowboys at Eagles, no hurts in this game. Protocol going to be to go on I'm sorry, he's in the concussion protocol is what I meant to say, what I typed there, but it's not what I read. So we're going to get to see Kenny Pickett instead of Jalen Hurts on Sunday, and the Eagles still have an outside chance of getting the number 1 seed. It's not very possible, but it's still possible. So what I mean to say is we're going to get a motivated Kenny Pickett, who they're going to put in at QB on Sunday. I think it's a nice play at $5,500. So he's my third QB along with Young and Rudolph. They're all within like $100 of each other. Rudolph is actually $5K flat out, so he's a little cheaper than the rest of them. But to me, this would be a nice play. Too easy against the Cowboys. I like the price because they don't provide a lot of resistance on defense. But I want to say that the main pick has got to be Saquon Barkley, right? Like, so if you're the Cowboys, the reason why I want to play Pickett is because if you're the Cowboys, you can't let Saquon beat you. Not with the backup QB in. It just makes way more sense that you would force Kenny Pickett to beat you if he can. That's the more logical thing is like, if I'm the Cowboys, like, I want to basically force their hand. I want to put 8 into the box and force Pickett to beat you. If I'm the Cowboys and I'm logical, and I know that's a big stretch for McCarthy and folks, but if you're going to be logical, you force them to beat them with Kenny versus Saquon. You know Saquon could carve you up, so I don't know why you would play that honestly. His job is in dire straits if they don't play Saquon tough and they let him run all over them and they lose that game. There's a way that you have to go about it, even if you're going to lose. And in this game, I'm telling you guys, I'm looking at Pickett because I just don't understand. Like, I'm a layman compared to these NFL guys, right? Like, we're all laymen. But even to me, it's obvious. Stack the friggin' box. So, yeah, I mean, is Saquon still a good play? He's a great play still. I don't know if I get there for DFS, but for seasonal, you got to play that and feel great about it. And there's no problems doing that. But Jalen Tolbert, I do like this guy on the low end for wide receivers on Sunday at $4,100. Let's pay down for him. I think he can get involved here. The Eagles aren't great in the secondary. They'll give up something. But I don't want to get too involved in this game because of the backup scenario. We don't know exactly how Pickett's going to play. For Rush, we've seen him out there, but he doesn't have CeeDee Lamb. So it's another reason I don't want to play him is he doesn't even have his best weapon. So that's going to be interesting. We see a lot of fill-ins and backups going in for this game, basically. But I think these two teams compete, and of the two of them, it's still the Eagles. They still have the better team, the more complete team. I think, Pickett, it's not too much to ask to step in just for 1 week and get the job done. And he's got both his receivers that he can go to. Good receivers. I like them more. But I don't want to take that chance in DFS. Like I said, I think the Eagles are going to win this game. Elliott, as the kicker, seems very prevalent this week if they can't score touchdowns in the red zone. But I am going to take Philadelphia. Colts and Giants. The Giants don't have anything to play for. The Colts do have something to play for. They have an outside chance, along with Miami, get one of those last 2 wild card spots should the Chargers or Denver not take care of business. So the Colts are going to be playing. And as far as the path to victory goes against the Giants, I like Jonathan Taylor. He was on fire last week, and it's another great week to fire him up as he takes a little pressure off of Richardson in the passing game. They don't have a lot of weapons that I'm overly enthralled with this week, but I do like that run game, and I'll take Jonathan Taylor at $7,900. It's still a great play this week. We can lock that one in. For the Giants side, Tracy's fine over there for seasonal if you need to bring it back. But I don't want to get too involved with this team that's got nothing to play for. They're 2-13. I won't get very serious about trying to stuff these guys in. So obviously, seasonal team. You got neighbors, Malik neighbors. You got to play them, right? But I wouldn't be too excited to be stuffing Giants into my lineup here, except for probably Tracy. And I would leave it there. But the Colts, I think they can go on the road and win this game. They are a minus 7.5-point favorite, even though they're on the road. And I like that. I think they get the victory and just try to keep pace for the end of the year. Packers at the Vikings, huge implications in this one here for both of these teams. Vikings are going to want to win this one so they can try to keep pace with the Lions, who play on Monday night. So the Packers realize that they have an outside shot, too, at the division. It's a 3-horse race to the end of the division here for the NFC North. But in this game specifically, for the Packers, we like the passing game. The Vikings a little bit easier to pass on than run. Expect the Vikings to be playing from ahead also. So I don't expect the Packers to be doing a lot of running with Josh Jacobs. Love is a decent play. I do like Jaden Reed at wide receiver, $5,900. That's a straight cash game play for me. Dobbs is interesting also, but I don't think I get there. For the Vikings, I want to bring it back with Aaron Jones, hammer down on his former team. That didn't want to pay for him. For Minnesota, I think there's no greater scenario. He's going to love doing it. It's a cash game play for me this week at $6,200. It makes all the sense in the world, and I so love that play. As far as wide receivers go, Addison is decent. He's in a decent spot, but really it's all about Jones. This week. Justin Jefferson, I'm not going to play him in DFS, but in seasonal, I would feel great about it. I think he can step up and shine. I don't know that he goes off and goes nuclear, but he will be involved in this game and involved in his offense. But I do like the Vikings at home here. I think they can win this one, and they're a half-point favorite basically, and I think the home field advantage will be the difference in this one. It should be a really close game. And I just expect the Packers to give it all they got for sure. This game might even go into overtime. 48.5-point total. So do with that what you will. But I'm going to take the Vikings in this one. Sunday night, Falcons at the Commanders. Huge game for both of these teams. Making the playoffs is slim if somebody loses here, right? Like the Commanders could probably still pull it off. But the Falcons need to win this game. They need to win this game and win the division, or else they can't make the playoffs, basically. So, and the thing about it is their backs are against the wall because, as we said earlier, the Bucs are just playing the Panthers, right? So there's a bit more pressure on the Falcons here. And they also have their rookie Penix starting, and it's on the road. There's a lot to like about the Commanders here. I think it's too much to ask for a rookie QB for Atlanta. I know Cousins hasn't been playing great, but I still think it would be a mistake to go with the rookie. You're asking him to step in and, in his second professional game and win the division by beating the Commanders, who are already a double-digit win team this year. That's a lot to ask for in a primetime spot on Sunday night. Not saying you can't do it, but I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't happen. They do have Robinson at running back. Got some guys also in London to try to lean on, but for me, it's all about the Commanders. It's their game to lose every week. Last week against Philadelphia, they can win this game if they don't come out overly emotional, is what I mean to say, coming off of the heels of last week. They could be in danger of getting a big letdown because the emotions were too high last week, beating bigger brother in a scenario where you absolutely had to have it to show that you are for real. So if they didn't expend too much energy to do that, I like them again this week. Jaden Daniels is a difference maker here, as he's shown last week with 5 touchdowns. I know he had turnovers also, but knowing something is there with him. So the Falcons are a little bit overmatched this week if after what we have seen his body of work look like this season. I kind of like all around that offensive effort from the Commanders, but I would definitely be interested in McLaurin if you got Robinson. Those are the Commanders to play in seasonal, and you can feel okay about that too. They're going to find a way to get the job done. It's not going to be sexy or glamorous, but the Commanders will get it done. They will get the job done. I don't think that the Falcons are going to win this football game. Zacchaeus, if you're in a spot because of injuries, maybe, but you could play him if you wanted to. But really, just McLaurin's the only receiver you should be really leaning on heavily. And if you're playing the Commanders, it's got to be, like I said, McLaurin, Robinson, or Daniels. If you play somebody outside of that, I'm just going to say don't do it. For the Falcons, play Robinson. You might have to play London, but I wouldn't play Pitts or anybody else, so those will be the only two. So you've got like 5 guys that should be relevant for this game. I probably would not stray away from those guys. All right, Commanders win that game. Bucks win their game earlier, as I said, and the Falcons lose this game. I think Penix doesn't have a great game. I think that this will be, the game that finally decides in giving the division away for Atlanta. And on to Monday, finally we got the 49ers and the Lions. Niners don't have much to play for, but the Lions are trying to keep pace in the North Division, NFC North, obviously with the Vikings there. There's a high point total in this one. I think there's going to be some points put up. Now, as far as the Browns go, I don't know what I wrote here. As far as the Lions go, I think that they can take advantage of this game. The 49ers are a weak football team. And I know that as far as Detroit goes, we want to establish the run. So you got to love Gibbs here. There's no Montgomery. Gibbs is in play. I like St. Brown. Also. He's also in play, obviously. And, Jamison Taylor, I think he's in play too. These guys can get it going. The offense should be humming. For the 49ers side, I don't want any of that. I don't want Patrick Taylor. I don't want any of it. I mean, they might be able to get a little run going, but I'm just not sure. They haven't been such a great team. I mean, if you got to play Deebo Samuels or Kittle, do it. For seasonal, if you need to play them, that's fine. But other than those guys, I actually can't see wanting to play anybody else out there unless you're in a 2 QB league and your hands are tied. You got to play, Purdy or something like that. You can go ahead and do it. But don't get too heavily involved in the 49ers here. Minus 3.5 point favorites on the road. It could easily be more than that, in my opinion. The Niners, they're not going to give up, this football game. I think they're going to do what they can. Moody's going to try to come in and kick some kicks. I like him. Maybe he can have like a 4 field goal type of game. That would be great. But if you are thinking about any other players on the 49ers, I probably wouldn't. For Detroit, I think this team is going to win the football game. They're setting up for the big showdown with the Vikings, and I don't see Dan Campbell letting his team grace him with the letdown this week. That's what I got for you. That's what I got for both slates. Guys, as usual, go ahead. Let's get it out there. Let's win. And then let's get back here next week and learn, scout, win, and repeat.
My daddy killed this beat.